So hello, welcome to the channel. Today we are checking out this whole story whereby in the UK, so many students actually, or university students who've just graduated are claiming benefits immediately. Like there's no prospects at all, And this is actually becoming very alarming. And it's not only in the UK, this is an international wide thing whereby you have people finishing uni and going through a situation whereby they are applying for jobs, almost 1,000 applications and no single reply. And the only thing they have is they claim benefits. If you're lucky to be in a country that actually does provide that social welfare facility, for other people is homeless or go back and live with your parents, Anyway, let's see what they actually have to say in this video.
AI is going to come for all sorts of jobs. Might be coming for mine at some point in the future. It's going to be a long time before a computer is fitting a boiler or building a house, isn't it?
That's another big mistake. That think that AI is not going to come for houses or fitting boilers. Very big mistake, dude. If there is, people forget, like if there is factories in China that have zero humans that actually manufacture cars. And if you remember very well, there was something called a Sears house kit I think in 1960. Dude, it's 1908. It's actually 1908. So Sears used to have like a house kit, like whereby you buy the house. It's basically in parts, and they'll just come and assemble it at your place. The same way we buy furniture at IKEA, and you can assemble it if you want to, but you can call other people to come and assemble it. But I think it's going to be a situation whereby it's because previously carpenters were also kind of like protected. Like people thought like, yeah, who's going to basically make the furniture? And all of a sudden now furniture comes modularized. Like you can be able to actually just put those joiners together and bam, you have a whole furniture. Like even the desk that I'm sitting on, basically had to do it myself. And I'm sure most of these boards and most of these things were basically in widgets, and they came in parts. And I think all of them came from different places, got amalgamated or got combined in one area or one warehouse and shipped to me. And with an instruction manual, I was able to actually put it together. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that to a house, but I think what's going to happen is that job of making a house or building a house or fitting in most of the house might end up actually being done. Probably, let's say, a couple of people and a whole robotic arm attached to a car, which the car doesn't have a driver. And boilers and the plumbing and everything will pretty much come as a module in the house. Like this wall has pipings and everything and a sink that's attached to that module. I honestly think biggest mistake is to think that this whole thing will not come for your job. It will come for your job, for sure. The only safety that I think there is that most companies will have to pump the brakes on this thing. Because they'll realize they're actually in market share. Like there's nobody buying shit. Or people are just going to be like, you know what, I will not spend my money on anything that uses, or any company that uses AI. Or people will be calling, and the moment AI answers, hang up. And people decide, okay, since I'm having a problem with your service and I'm calling and there's AI, then I don't think you guys are providing any kind of solution. So I'd rather move my business elsewhere. And that's going to create business opportunity of people who are going to be human-oriented. And they will get their business. They will get that business as well. I don't think this thing is going to end up the way we think. It's not going to take over like completely. Because at the end of the day, profits are profits. And once everyone adopts this, once it becomes very easily adoptable and people start getting into it, it's going to become extremely unprofitable to have AI in your system. Yeah, you will cut costs, but on the other hand, you will lose market because people don't want to work with you. People will be like, I'd rather pay €2 more, or I'd rather pay $5 more or something like that, just to interact with a human.
Is a vocational education now a better bet than going to university? Keep your calls coming in on that. Let's talk about it all with Ben Rowland, Chief Executive of the Association of Employment and Learning Providers, which supports its members in delivering vocational learning. Ben's also author of Understanding Apprenticeships, a Student's Guide. Ben, very good evening to you. The announcement from the government today, 40,000 more of these qualifications for young people, 10 new colleges. What do you make of it?
Good evening. Nice to be with you. I think it is overall. I think we've got to be encouraged that the government is putting more into vocational skills. Like you, I think they are the future, and that the great gilded age of universities of the 20th century is probably waning. So I think it's a good announcement. We're not sure that it's the best way that the government could have possibly used the money, but as a signal of supporting vocational skills, particularly in construction, it's got to be a good thing.
Ben, you know far more about this than me, so I'm glad to hear that you agree with me that this is the future. Why is it the future, do you think? Why are vocational qualifications the way forward?
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think the speed with which jobs now change mean that going to a sort of it used to be that going to university for 3 or 4 years, sort of slowly and steadily learning how to.
Yep, that thing also needs to change. I think the best thing unis can do right now is make it that people are able to actually finish uni as quickly as possible. And that means simple, instead of just saying, hey, you're only allowed to do certain amount of courses in a particular semester. You can do as many as you want, as long as you pass them. And go, finish as quickly as you can. And better yet, update the syllabus to be able to address current technological advancements. I think one of the laziest institutions is the university. I remember I had professors who pretty much were giving me the same assignments in my accounting classes. And I could go to my sister's notes who finished school or finished university like years, like I'd say almost 7 years before me, and find, similar. All I just do is copy and paste and get through and pass. So that also needs to change. But also the other thing is, on the vocational side, as someone who basically has a tech background, I can tell you for a fact, I look at vocational people, I'm like, wow. So hard work, yeah, but a lot of that stuff can also be modularized. It just means if money shifts there, the people who are interested in the brains that do this whole automation, or the automation people, will just focus their energies there. They'll just realize, there's a gap here. Okay, let's go for it. And voila, that's how your whole industry becomes also upended. Good example, making cars, all robotized. Another example, furniture, which is also part of vocational study. Carpentry, same thing. Buy from IKEA, you don't need a carpenter to actually do it. And I'm sure IKEA does most of this stuff with robots or machines. So it's only specialized, like let's say you want a super designer table or something like that, one-of-a-kind situations that you will need an artisan. But in general, as far as mass production is concerned, especially even in the vocational area, I've seen even like grass cutters. Nowadays, these robots that just chill there, whole winter, just chilling. I haven't seen one which actually even sucks the leaves that drop down during the autumn time to prepare for winter. Just chilling. The moment the leaves start falling, things start moving. Ooh. Takes all the leaves, sends you a text message. Hey, my bucket or my container is full. Come empty. Because it's the same compound. It doesn't change in terms of boundary. You can pretty map it out and also put it on the GPS, and the thing can be able to know, okay, the tree there, there's a bush there, and the thing is I can't get inside, so it even has like a arm that sweeps and takes. Like, I can tell you for a fact, like, as far as we say plumbing and this is gonna be the future, I don't think so. I would just say, for me, I look at it in terms of tech-wise. Like, I think tech-wise and business, this thing, they have to pump the brakes. They will have to pump the brakes. They will end up pumping the brakes on it. Because when everyone is using it, right? When everyone is using it, it's going to affect the market. It's going to shrink the market because not everyone can afford the things or the products that are being provided. Or this efficiency that that CEOs are gunning for. It's efficiency to produce. But who are you producing it for? People who can't afford it because they don't have jobs, because they're taken over by your so-called efficiency. So how do you How do you do this? So they'll have to pump the brakes. I keep saying it's the same thing as I've said in so many other videos. It's almost similar as the whole home office situation. It was efficient. They just didn't like it because they had investments, and the investments were being affected by home office because now most of those investments are in the city center. Those big buildings, those fancy houses, those fancy apartments. Now, guess what? Hey, even though I work in the city center, I don't need to live in a fancy house or in the city. I can go out. And guess who's investing in the city most? Politicians, it's the big CEOs, it's most of these guys and their friends. And they realize, hey, dude, what the heck? I thought you're coming in here, bringing in like 20,000 people who are able to pay and, fill in some of these spaces here. And there's nobody. Even the little coffee place that I actually opened there, even got a franchise from Starbucks. Nobody's coming. You gotta do something about it. And this was almost like wholesale, internationally. And that's the part they decided, don't think that home office thing is working out in that way. So pretty much called in everyone. Because most of them also, they use their profits in real estate as well. Most of these companies, they just don't keep the money in the bank. They throw it around. They throw it in the stock exchanges. And the stock exchange, guess what? They're buying real estate investment trusts. They're buying this. They're buying things which are pretty much connected to so many other things. Buying Starbucks shares. And when Starbucks is like, yo, we don't have people in the cities. What the heck? And most of our customers were some of your employees for all these other companies. So eventually that whole connection just kind of like led to the point, we just can't have this whole home office thing. And I think it's the same thing that's going to happen to AI. And then it's going to become a situation whereby people just can't afford to do crap.
Order your thoughts and do research and then come out in the top 20% of the population and move into the top 20% of jobs in a rather sort of measured way is rapidly becoming a thing of the past. And actually, if you don't learn how to learn while you're earning, then you're going to be in trouble, I think. And that's the key thing to a lot of these vocational programs, is that, yes, you're learning the skill. You might be learning, for example, how to lay bricks or to...
Even that one is not going to work. Anything repetitive, physically also, will be replaced. Right now in China, they have factories with unmanned forklifts. Container loading, unmanned. Container unloading, truck unloading, unmanned.
Piling into the ground for the foundations. But actually, that's going to change every year, how you do that. But if you're not in that, and if you haven't learned how to learn those new skills
it's going to change, and it's not going to change in terms of you learning this. It's going to change in terms of it stop being physical and it start being, guess what, technical. So a lot of even those vocational jobs, which I would say it's actually a good thing to actually learn that. But I do think eventually you're going to have a situation whereby, because previously you had someone who you will be in charge of, like, let's say, the plumbing system of so many buildings connected to each other as one person, because AI. And fixing them, I don't think fixing them is going to come to a situation whereby you're going to be hitting can. No. I don't think it's going to become a situation whereby you're going to come with a machine, put it there, and it does its thing. You take it, put it back in the van, and F off. All these piping systems will have sensors. I know this because I've seen whole warehouses right now being rekitted. And it's not, they're being rekitted in that you're removing old piping from, let's say, 1970, even 1990s. They're being told, hey, remove this thing. There's a new piping system for the fire sprinklers. So now this piping system has sensors. The previous one, you have to bring in someone to actually find out where the problem is and stuff like that. If there's a leakage, what's causing it, and all that. This thing has sensors connected to what? The freaking cloud. And on top of that, it being connected to the freaking cloud, guess what? You as the warehouse owner or the person who owns the place, you have to pay a subscription so that you can be able to see also what the technicians are seeing and that your pipes actually work and if there's any kind of pressure or any kind of leakage. And slowly you're going to get to a point whereby you can be able to actually fix it yourself, regardless of how huge it is. Rent seeking, as they say, rent seeking. We're a rent seeking economy. Most of these companies want subscription. Like the whole thing for sales is also going to, like, one-time selling is slowly disappearing. And that's the reason why they don't even want us to be able to fix most of this stuff. They're gonna keep us in that wheel. And replacing us with AI is pretty much, it's kind of removing us out of that wheel. So I do believe they're gonna pump the brakes on this.
The technology develops, you're going to be behind, I think.
And you look at figures like the fact that 600,000 university graduates are now claiming benefits because they can't get a job. You look at the cost of university, Ben, and a lot of young people would be absolutely within their rights to conclude that it's increasingly a complete waste of time doing a degree.
I think the thing is, it's one of those things where roughly 50% of people going to university will get no benefit from it. But of course, every young person, I include my daughter who gets her A-level results on Thursday, will think that if they decide to go to university, they'll imagine, because we're all optimists, that they'll be in the 50% for whom it will work.
And a lot won't.
Yeah, we all want to believe we're exceptional. But I think, I don't know, it's been like this, but let's say, in third world countries, it's been like this. Like, you going to uni was not a guarantee. Like, if you go to most places, like even India, you go to other places so many places in Africa as well. The guy who's selling tomatoes to you has a bachelor's degree. The guy sweeping the streets has a bachelor's degree. And it's the same bachelor's degree that the guy who's sitting in the C-suite, CEO of a big 4 accounting firm, has. Maybe even went to the same class and probably did better than him. So it's not a guarantee. So it's just those dynamics are pretty much coming in right now in a lot of Western countries, because AI has basically kind of opened up the whole, chasing for efficiency and profit, which is similar to what happens in third world countries, like just absolutely straight up concentrated capitalism, profit at all costs with minimal effort. That's what AI is offering, minimal effort. So in simple words, AI is kind of making things a little bit third world. Doesn't look like physically, but as far as the matrix, or as far as the scenario of what's really happening, it's a little bit third worldish. And again, also, we all can't, like so many videos are saying, go into the vocationals. Yeah, people are like, okay, yeah, and there's people who are going to the vocational. But we can't all go to the vocationals, because even they themselves are also, how can I put this? They're also seeing technology coming in that area. Because you have a situation whereby a lot of some companies which are even mining cement are using robotics to mine cement and process it. So you think it's going to just stop there? Same as the pipes for the plumbing. They're also being manufactured with robots. So you think it's just going to stop there? I think we're in for a surprise. To be honest, is one thing. It's going to pump the brakes. Secondly, I would say learn something AI. Understand how AI works. Understand where it comes from. Build a few things with your own hands. Make your own life efficient. In a way, just learn how to use it. Like there's the whole agentic AI. Well, there's the ChatGPT stuff, which most people can use it. Learn about agentic AI. Learn how to, make a situation whereby you can ask Siri, or you can ask your phone or Gemini to actually order you lunch, or monitor your calories from your watch, going into your voice, going into your watch, monitoring your calorie intake, to the point where it's able to order food for you or present a recipe which know how to cook or interested in, that you can actually make, that can make you healthy, can give you a healthy meal. So small things like that. They're not hard. Just go to websites like Anthropic and also docker.com, or even just here on YouTube. You can find something.
But 50% or thereabouts, it really won't work, and they're left with. And I know plenty of people like this who've gone on, done their degree, they've even gone and done their masters, they've got a first-class degree, they've got a distinction in their masters, and 3 years later they're working in a retail outlet. Nothing wrong with working in a retail outlet, by the way, but to have 50 grand of debt hanging on your shoulders and getting, while you're doing it, is probably not your best course of action.
But I take your point. But when you say no benefit, there are people that say university is not supposed to be about just churning out the workers of tomorrow. It's about broadening your horizons and developing your passions and getting the life experience, and meeting new people and moving away from home and becoming independent and all the rest of it, that you probably don't get if you're just doing a plumbing course at your local college. So is there an advantage to university, a broader advantage, that you don't get with a vocational education?
Again, possibly for some people. For some people, the kind of the infrastructure and support to move away from home is sometimes the a crucial moment in their life. If they've had live in a very if they've had a really difficult childhood, then moving away at 18 to university can be absolutely brilliant. But as we know on that, I mean, a growing number of students, because of the money, are choosing to live at home. So that whole argument about, cutting the apron strings doesn't work. And then I think, that if you say that you can't broaden your horizons while, doing a plumbing apprenticeship, of course you can.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that the whole university experience is harder to replicate if you're not, there for 3 years living. I take your point. More and more aren't living away from home, but it's hard to replicate that kind of holistic education that you get at university.
Well, I think you're right. It depends, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about that holistic education, there's I know plenty of people who are getting 6 hours contact time a week.
Well, that was me. That was me. 6 hours.
I know, but you and I, when we were at university, weren't paying for it.
Well, so I had $3,500, but I wasn't paying $9,500.
So you're a younger man than me, but I was not paying a penny for it. I had
This is one of the few reasons why Gen Z is very, 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 kind of angry at especially older people. That is boomers, Gen X. These guys look like Gen Xers, but the reporter looks like a millennial. They're angry because of the part whereby there's this disconnect. Like for them, they look at it like, okay, yeah, look for this option, look at this option. They don't understand that the neurosis that is there for most of these young people right now is that they understand way more, they see way more than most of us. Because they don't have jobs, so they research on this stuff. They look into, let's say, even vocational studies. I'm sure they've looked into it, and they're able to actually research of new advancements in, let's say, plumbing and stuff like that. And on top of that, a lot of them are, and this is something very interesting, are on TikTok, and a lot of them are not inundated by Western media alone. They're also looking at China. They're looking at what is happening in China. And what they're seeing happening in China is a ton of automation, especially in the vocational area. And they know if it's there, it's going to land here soon. So for them, the whole, look for vocational study and stuff like that, that's a temporary, that's a band-aid.
I had a good time. I still look back on that and say, and I did a 4-year undergraduate degree and then a master's. And I think, what could I have done with those 5 years? So yeah, I met some amazing people. I had a great time, but that's 5 years I could have spent doing loads of other things as well. So this idea that I think lots of...
Yeah, I disagree on the part whereby a lot of people tend, especially older people, tend to put this whole, I could have done so much with my life. I met all these people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I do too believe that, hey, if I didn't, go out or something like that with my friends or hanged out with people, I would have done so much. I would have been here in life or something like that. I would have started a business. I would have been here. I think it's one of those cases where we discount that. If you actually did what it is that you thought you would have done, then you'd have lost out on a lot of social contact. You'd have lost out on something that actually contributed to a lot of your personality. And chances are, whatever it is that you wanted to do, a very huge chance, if it's a business or if it's whatever course, you wouldn't have really advanced that much. You'd have probably failed a couple of times. And you'd have actually sucked so much of your time and affected your mental stability. I've seen so many people who went into that whole, I'm serious, no social, I want to focus on my thing, I want to level up, as they say. And then 3 years' time, they finish, but then they end up in depression and can't actually perform or do what it is they actually wanted to do.
Of us have is because we had a formative time at university and because some of our mates for life were made at university, it was because we were at university. Actually, it's probably because we were 18, 19, 20, had no obligations and were living a good life. And I think that's true. I've seen that when I ran an apprenticeship program for 8.
Also, you didn't have anxiety. Your anxiety was, will this chick like me? This guy's anxiety is it really worth it? They have a very, very different they're fighting a very different battle than most of us actually did.
8 years, and we had, for one of the big technology companies, we had people coming from all over the country. They were house sharing. They were doing all the student things you'd have. It's just they were earning a good wage. They had a much better time.
Yeah. Yeah, it
actually.
makes complete sense. Ben, just finally, I wonder how big a problem snobbery is when it comes to vocational education, where you get a lot of sort of middle class people going, oh, yes, wonderful, wonderful, all these vocational courses, but not for my little darling. They're off to Oxford and Cambridge. Whether there's still this sense of sort of a bit of snootiness about the value of apprenticeships and vocational courses, or is that becoming less of an issue?
People behave like the snooty people are, how can I say? They're not part of us. Well, they kind of aren't. But again, keep in mind, they are the ones with the money. And chances are, well, unless you're middle class corporate like that, like completely disconnected and stuff. But if you're from a snooty family and a business background and stuff like that, they will kind of understand maybe what the environment looks like, and they will be able to ask. They will be able to actually inquire from, let's say, people in the real estate industry and ask them, like, how does that industry look like in 10 years? In 10 years, do you think, or if you look at the technology that's going into that particular industry, do you think it's going to append a lot of vocational professions? And chances are they will tell you, well, to be honest, since the government is coming in with a lot of taxes, especially in the real estate sector, chances are they will also embrace automation. They will embrace automation. Like I've said before, there was a Sears kit house. It's not there anymore, but that's something that can easily be revived, especially with today's technology. And if that's revived, then guess what? Bricklayers, even masons and stuff, it's gonna be tough. I used to be in Germany, and I've seen a house like just bricks, like not bricks, like whole wall. This is like 2-story or 3-story house, like walls being shipped in with a truck. And these walls, guess what? Had places for windows, like slots, and they just fit in, caulk or whatever it is that they do. And they didn't need that many people in that area. Very few. So if all of us go into vacation studies, and there's these few opportunities, then what's gonna, like, we just shifting problems from different side to different side. I would say maybe a little bit of patience, and understand that truth is, it's about profits, and where is the money gonna come from? These rich people are not gonna be like, yeah, we're just gonna be making products just for rich people. Many businesses will close down. And at the end of the day, the more automation that they do, the more they actually realize they themselves also automating themselves out of a job. Or they will automate themselves out of a market. That's what's going to happen. So they will have to pump the brakes, or they will have to find a way to work with a lot of institutions, and also try to find a way that people can be able to be able to actually contribute. I don't think there's going to be a time where they're going to be like, okay, screw humans, we're good. You know what? Or the other option is pretty much get rid of a good chunk of us. And if that's the case, then better prepare for a disease or something like that. But I don't think that's my conspiracy, another kind of side. But in general, I think with a little bit of patience, I do think there's some things which need to be implemented. And I do think, as far as uni is concerned, that 4-year period needs to be cut down completely. The 4-year period needs to be cut down completely. Same for all these vocational studies, I think. And then on top of that, they need to be updated and made more, how can I put this, more engaging, not even engaging, more experience kind of practical learning in a lot of these things. They need to get rid of that uni people sitting in lecture halls like this and sleeping and stuff. It needs to be more engaging. It needs to be more practical, so that these people can actually be able to not only say, hey, I just finished uni in accounting. No, they can actually be able to be like, hey, this is what I can do with AI, or with these machines, or with these tools. But again, also, that whole time period, 4 years, no, I don't think 4 years will work. And the reason why I say this thing has to pump brakes is because the reason why uni does 4 years, so that they can get the maximum money out of people. Everyone is just trying to get the maximum money out of people, out of the situation. Same for this whole implementing AI. It's about getting the most money out of people. or the most value out of things or out of the situation. And eventually that value is going to disappear. Like I said, automate yourself out of employees for efficiency, you automate yourself also out of a market. Anyway, so if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you don't like me, let me know in the comments. If you do, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next video. So I'll put a link in the description for this particular video, and you can go watch the whole thing. I think for me, it's one of those cases where I think we just need to be patient about this. And as you're being patient, learn as much as possible about AI, learn as much as possible about automation in different sectors of the industry, because automation is going to be everywhere. It's the future. It's the same way my parents were working in the bank and they got replaced and got kicked out because of Excel and Microsoft Word, or basically the computer. And that's the tool we're using today. So it's going to be a tool. So learn how to use the tool. But as far as it basically appending and replacing jobs and people just walking around like zombies and stuff, yeah, that's going to happen, but not too many people. It's one of those cases where it's kind of a reorganization, you know. Some people will rise to the top, some people will come to the bottom, and all this will be determined with how willing you are to adapt to the situation. If you're willing to adapt to the situation and learn automation, yeah, you can learn vocational studies as they recommend, but I don't think that's the answer too, because automation is also coming there, and it's coming there really fast. Considering these are the people who actually get absolutely hammered when it comes to the per hour wage section or wage situation. You see, once someone goes out there, you really don't have control over them. They clocked in, they went. You can only say, okay, that's supposed to be a 5-hour job. They're supposed to be back in 5 hours. You're out there in the elements. So many things can happen. You get? So many things can happen that small little inefficiencies that can happen that will make those hours go 5 to 7 to 6, 8 to 10. Even sometimes finding out, oh, there's another problem here. Oh, we need some permits for this because let's say it's a plumbing situation, and then you find out, oh, the pipe is supposed to pass through here, there's a fiber optic. And that means you have to wait for weeks to get an approval to be able to do anything around that section. So these guys will also have to implement automation in that, being able to know that that thing is there or whatever lines are there, being able to actually do the applications, being able to actually get everything, efficiency of knowing how many hours, how long it's going to take, and all that will come through, all that will be able to be done through AI and also automation. And the automation is just basically having sensors in most of these pipings and cables. So I don't think it's that easy, man. Like automation is the future. I would say the only job, as far as an opportunity is concerned, if there's anything you can study automation. Learn to think in terms of automation. Learn to think in terms of modules. Learn to think in terms of how things can be broken down and combined to make something complex. E.g. how IKEA was able to pretty much replace carpenters. In that even carpenters themselves have gone the same direction, whereby they make just boards. They don't make a whole table where you come and buy the whole table and put the whole table in your car. You buy a board, like nicely, things which can actually be packaged in a warehouse, because again, there's also the whole part where they have to pay for a meter square, for the square foot of a warehouse. So all these things come together, and you realize it's all about automation and cost cutting. If you learn those, you definitely will find something to do. Be it a job, be it your own business, even in the vocational area, even in the finance area, or even in the other areas. The other thing that also, let's not forget, therapy and psychiatrists. Dealing with addictions, especially social media, alcohol, and all the others. Because this will also send people down a dark path. This whole people losing jobs and stuff, it will send people down a dark path. So they will need support. And it will also cause a lot of people people's diet to go bad, and also there's healthcare and stuff like that. And a lot of hospitals and also nursing care homes will not be able to support that amount of people in need. So that means there's going to be the need for traveling nurses and the likes. So I don't think there's going to be, probably years from now, there's going to be a situation where there's going to be robots coming to take care of you and stuff like that. But that's going to be hard, because I think most people will be so starved out of human connections from all these customer service things, or all these customer service AI implementations in a lot of these companies, that they will be so appreciative of just having a human taking care of them. Anyway, so that's my take. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. I'll leave the link for this whole description, for this whole podcast in the description. Don't forget to subscribe.